So today's session is looking at the new tools, if you like, in 2014 Civil3D. There isn't a huge number, to be honest. Things are sort of tapering off in terms of what they're putting into Civil3D, as opposed to the first years that it came out. Although I think they're probably enough to look at for the next hour or so, I'd imagine. So the plan is this: have a look at the tools that are in Civil3D itself. So there's tabs up the top, forwards and backwards compatibility, pressure pipes, there's a few things been added in there, the Geotechnical Model, rail turnouts, xref targets for corridors, corridor solids can be produced, and there's some projected solids changes to cross sections as well. On top of that, most people, I think, will have had at least the opportunity to upgrade to the infrastructure design suite this year. So they've been changing, people with MAP and Civil3D, up to the design suites. The upgrade from Civil3D will be to the premium infrastructure design suite. And I'm going to, Chris Blair has just joined in, so if you have questions during the webcast, you can type them in. Let me just mute him here. There we go. Hello Chris, welcome along. Okay, so if you have gone up to the infrastructure design suite, there's a couple of new things over what there was in there last year in the premium level. There's also a couple of things you may have seen which are only in the ultimate version of the infrastructure design suite, which is the InfraWorks highway design and also river analysis. So if you're wanting to look at those, you're going to need to go up to the ultimate version of the design suite to see those. We'll see how we're going. We may get time at the end to look at some of those things from the actual design suites, but we'll see how we go. All right. So the next thing is to start having a look at 2014. So let me find it here. Different icons these days, or now, for the Autodesk products. So it looks slightly different on desktop, but I'm sure you'll find them just fine. Now let me, I'm just going to not go too fast hopefully during this session, so I'll make sure, we'll try and make sure that your screens keep up with what I'm talking about. But it looks like you've all got that screen now, so I think we're ready to go. So the first thing really to look at, and most obvious change, is these tabs up in here. So if I start a new drawing, whichever way I want, just start a new one with the Q New button. You're going to get these tabs for each of the drawings that you've currently got open. Similar to what you get in your Internet Explorer or other type of browser. So you can swap between your drawings. So, for instance, polylines. Swap back to drawing 1. There's no polyline there, obviously. It's similar in many ways to what was down here previously, the quick view drawings. You can click on that. You can see the open drawings and be able to go and have a look at the model and layouts for each drawing as a preview. You can get the same sort of previews off here, off the tabs at the top, and switch between them and just go straight into the layout, all the model space for each one of those drawings. So some people don't like this up here. It takes up a little bit more screen real estate. If you don't want it, just go to the View tab on the ribbon. It's this button here, File Tabs. Turn that off and they're gone. Turn it on and it brings them back. So maybe you could potentially turn it on when you wanted it. It does give you a few extra functions in there that doesn't happen in the quick view drawings. So you can right click on any one of these and close it, We'll close all of the tabs, or close all the tabs except this tab, for instance, and it'll give you the option to save those as necessary if you need to. Also, you can open the file location directly from there if I had to save that somewhere. You've also got right-click options here, just on the grey part, open a new one, which is the same as the click button, to go and open a drawing directly, or save all of the ones that you currently have open, or close all that you have open there. So this is just normal AutoCAD. 2014 now has this as well, but this is obviously carried through to Civil3D. Alright, so that's a bit of a start. Let's have a look now at, I guess, probably the biggest ticket item for Civil3D is the fact that we now have forwards compatibility with 2013 version. That is to say, we've always had backwards compatibility where you've been able to open a drawing made in 2013 and open it in 2014. Now you can actually open a drawing made in 2014 and it will work in 2013 with a couple of provisos, but it does work. So let's just, this is 2014 we're currently looking at with the blue little A in the top left-hand corner. Let's go and just put some data in here. So it's a land XML. Anybody who's done training with us will know this XML intimately. Standard training and demo XML, which looks like that. So we've got some alignments in here. Let's put a new alignment in here, for instance. So alignment creation tools. Whatever. We'll go with, give it the default name, and we'll go and make tangents with curves. And I'm going to snap onto this one here. Put an IP point in about there, and curve it around to there. Okay, new alignment put in there. Plus all the other alignments that we just read from the file. And so these have all been created in 2014. I'm going to do a save here. Put it on my desktop as 2014. Save it there. And I probably want to close it. Okay. Let me bring up the 2013 version here, which I have open in the background here. So, as you can see, 2013, and I've kept it small so it's distinguishable from the 2014 version. Let's go and open that drawing now. So on the desktop, find my 2014 version drawing, open it, and you'll find that we won't get complaints about this was made in an earlier, in a later version. Oh, don't worry about that, that's just a link on my desktop. It won't get complaints about this was created in a later version of the software. You can see that it comes in there. All of these are editable, and like they were created in 2013, so I can move that, for instance, across to there. Do anything else I want with it. The only proviso would be any types of objects that exist in 2014 that don't exist in 2013, they'll still be in a proxy state. But anything that exists, types of objects that exist in both formats, both versions, will be editable in the previous. So this only works with 2014 and 2013. Okay, it doesn't work with any other versions previous to that. These are the only two currently, but presumably in subsequent versions, it'll be carrying back to 2013. We'll have to see what happens with that, but I assume so. So we've made our change in 2013. We can do a save here and close it. Open it back up in 2014, and we'll see that the changes will have carried through, obviously. So now you can talk to people that haven't got 2014 version, that are currently still using 2013. So that's nice. That's something people have been wanting for a wee while. So that's really the big ticket item, if you like. for 2014. There's a few other bits and pieces in here. Just while I think about it, I think we'll have a look at the projected solids changes. So let me just open up a drawing I've made previously in 2014 called projected solids. So previously we've had the ability to project solids or blocks onto our cross sections and long sections. This little thing here is actually it's a block, a 3D solid I made up to represent a bit of a tank or something like that. Let's have a look in the object viewer. Water tank I don't mean artillery tank. Oh, military tank. So it's just a solid cylinder with another cylinder removed from the center of it, so it's actually hollow. So what we're going to do is project that to, or I've actually already projected it to a long section, which we've had for a few years now, a couple of years, and it ends up looking in some sort of projected state, a bit like that. What we can do though is project it to our cross sections, and there's a bit of a change there. So let's do that. So if I go and which cross section are we on here? 140. Section 140. Here we go. Let's select that. Up in the ribbon, we can go project objects to view. And it says select the objects to add to the section view, which is going to be that one. And we can go and set the projection type. Now there's a style here already. ANZ projected objects. I'll just show you, let's have a look at that particular style. In section view, there's a little tick box here that says cut a section when it's drawn on a section view. So if I untick that, let's leave that unticked to start off with, and that's the way it used to work. So let's go OK and OK. And we find that it's projected it to that cross section. There's the tank, but it's looking the same as what we have in the long section. It's just showing essentially the entire block, or a block of that solid, representation of that solid. So what we can do is pick it, go back into that projection style that we were looking at a moment ago, and on the section we can tick on show us a section and go OK, and now it's cutting a section through that solid. So just to prove that it actually is, let's move the solid in plan view. Hopefully I'm not moving the screen too fast for you. So I'm going to pick the solid and let's move it. I'm just going to move it along this contour line a bit so that we're actually slicing right through, not through the center of the tank, just through the edge of it. So if we go and have a look at our section now, you can see it's just showing a solid slice through the edge of that tank. It's not showing the interior volume there. If we go and move it back again, now it's showing us again a different slice through that tank, a wider one. So that works nicely. The only thing that would have been nice is if you got the same thing happening on the long sections. Currently the long sections are still the same as they were. They don't have the ability to slice like that. Only the cross sections do. So if I have a look at the style here, you can see in section we've got the ability to tick on that little tick, but in profiles or long sections we don't. So it's always as drawn, or put a marker on it instead of it. Okay, so it's only the cross sections. Okay, so that's those. What we should probably look at now, how about the geotechnical model? I'm going to start a new drawing, I think, for this. you'll see when you start this up that you'll have a Geotechnical module, a Geotechnics tab. This is a new thing. I don't think it was part of the labs last year. I don't recall seeing it. Anyway, so this gives the ability to create sections from borehole logs. That's what it's really talking about. So let's go and have a go of that. So we start off, you can connect directly to a whole-based database if you have one of those to connect to. Most people probably don't. So we go import. I'm going to save the drawing first. Let me just save it on the desktop. Let's get rid of that other drawing so I can close it directly out of there. Alright. So we've saved it. We can start the import now. That's interesting. I haven't had that happen before. It's always, let's just try starting a new drawing. Let's try, I might close this one as well. It might be what's doing it. Save those changes. Okay. Save it to my desktop. Let's start the import function. Okay, that's exciting. Shouldn't need that. Very strange. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. Does that complain? No. Okay. Have to come back to that one. Essentially, I'm not sure why that would be. It's worked fine every other time I've tried it. Let me try opening a previous drawing and see if I can use it in there. Or even though just opening. If it still doesn't work, we'll have to continue, but no, now it's going to, now it's doing auto save. Okay, might need to restart Civil to get that to work. It's very strange. Right, let me just do a quick restart. Okay, just starting up then. Don't think it would be due to the fact that we're doing a broadcast at the same time. That shouldn't matter. There we go. It's just been loaded, so let's have a go. Okay. Save the drawing. The Geotechnical tab. Import. So what it should allow us to do is to read in the a CSV file. There we go. Now it's working. Okay. Let's just make sure you can see that too. Yep, you can. Alright, so there's a number of file types it can read. CSV is probably what most people would tend to be using if they don't have access to those particular file types. And you can browse to find those files. Now they are a very particular format CSV file, so you do have to follow the format. You also need to have two files that you load in, the geo whole, which is basically the whole location, and the geology that goes with that. So there is a help button up here that tells you all about that stuff. There's quite extensive help, and there's also videos you can link through to as well, which is basically how I figured out how it works. So actually let's do that one first. Open that and add the file, and then you have to do the same thing for the whole file as well. Add the file, then go import. There we go. So it's found 28 boreholes, so we go import. And in a moment, there we go, she comes through. Okay, so what we've got is some AutoCAD points, and around those is actually an AutoCAD solid. If we go and have a look at that solid, so let's change the view to realistic view and change our viewpoint. Just bring up the view cube for a second. Realistic. There we go. Each of these is a depth of material encountered in the boreholes. So you can see what it's actually done. Then we want to make things out of these. So this is just going to be a really quick demonstration for you guys. Let's put that back to 2D wireframe. But as I say, there's a bunch of stuff in the help files here that you can go through to and have a good look at if you're wanting to use this. So let's go and then go to the Strata Manager up in the ribbon here. Basically, there's a bunch of materials that's found earth materials that's found in the borehole logs. And we can make surfaces out of those. So basically I'm going to make a surface out of all the top layers of those. And you could tick on the bottom layers as well if you wanted to, but let's just do the top ones. And you can see in the background they're getting created straight away as Civil3D surfaces. Having used that now, I can close that. If I select those surfaces, have a look in the object viewer, you can see that we've got a number of layers that is produced out of those boreholes. And we can do volume comparisons and cut through those surfaces and do all sorts of stuff that we want to. So what you might want to do beyond that is cut a profile through it. So we can actually do that directly from here if we want. Create a profile. Profile name will be profile 1. We probably got to go, we don't have an alignment, do we? But let's have a style of ANZ. We'll go for 5 times exaggeration, I guess. We don't have an alignment, so we can go select create new. Yep, create new alignment. Start point of the alignment. End point of the alignment. Name will be 1. And go next. Now we can put a buffer around it, or say, okay, show us all the boreholes of type. I don't know what CP is. We'll try it. Okay, it's collected a whole bunch of boreholes there. It's found with the type of CP, so we'll display those in the long section as well. and we go create and put it over here. So I'm just making a Civil3D long section, but it's also adding in obviously the surfaces it cuts as Civil3D profiles, but also borehole information related to those boreholes. Most of them are off that alignment. This one's probably on, but these ones will be off, which is why they're above or below the surfaces. But you can also choose which ones you want to display in there as well. So, real quick run through. That's basically what we're talking about for the, and you can see just different hatches for different types of material as well. What the Geotechnics log does for us, or the Geotechnics tab. So that's what they call the Geotechnical Module. So for some people that's going to be really, really useful. Let's close that one off. Let's go and have a look at another, oh yes, rail layout. There's a new little layout tool for the rail components, rail alignments that we can use. So let's go up into, let's bring in our old favourite land XML again. And where these are kept, these are for rail turnouts. So we've got, actually in the toolbox is where they're kept. So if you've forgotten how to turn on that toolbox tab up in the tool space, it's this little button up here in the ribbon. And turn it off and turn it back on, where reports are generally kept for getting information out of your drawing. But there's also, it also comes under, it's under here, yeah, it's the subscription extension manager. The rail layout module gets put into there. We've got, well, let's see if we can go edit rail turnout catalog. Let's have a look at that first. So basically, when you get a turnout, or it's what we'd call, or anybody else that doesn't work in the rail industry would call an intersection, I suppose, where two tracks divert. We may have some points or something, railway points, I guess, at that point. That's what is known as a turnout, and they're defined by all these parameters. Basically, it's a circular curve, but it's defined by all these different parameters, and tangents is what it works off. You've got straight line switch and arc switches. Oops. As the different type that you can specify. But let's go and see if we can show you, there's a catalogue of them as well. There's a bunch all pre-made, but you probably want to make your own in that catalogue as well, which is what that button is about. So let's go create rail turnout. It will ask when we get there. That's excellent. Okay, just to click that button once too many times, so let's just restart it again. Which is one good reason why it might be worth waiting till the Service Pack 1 comes out. I suspect I will be waiting till that happens before I want to start using it full time. There is also, while we're just waiting here, I should point out there's a number of things that are not quite complete or not correct in the ANZ country kit. They are looking at getting that re-released because it's a number of things not quite up to speed there yet. One of which is the tool palettes with all your the standard ANZ tool palettes that we're used to having. Those aren't in there currently, so you've got to use the metric Autodesk ones for now. So let's go reload this one. Okay, this time I'm going to be careful about how many times I click that button. In fact, I'm going to go execute like that. And it's killed it again. Now it's only when you're doing these demos that this happens, although I don't think, well, it could be because we've got the, well, no, it's still there. No, killed it again. Because the go-to meeting's running potentially, but I don't think it should be that that's doing it. We'll come back to that anyway if we are able to. Every other time I've tried that, that's been perfect. So, I have actually managed to break 2014 several times already. As you can see, it's just broken twice more. So yeah, pinch yourself as to whether you want to pick it up straight away and start using it. Although we do now have the option, if things are really breaking, to go back to 2013, as I pointed out before, which is good. So let's continue on for a moment. Let's show you corridor targets and corridor solids. A couple of little extras they've thrown in there, so let me just go to the Insert tab again. Getting used to seeing this by now. Alright. Let's just quickly make a little solid. So as I was saying, or a little corridor, as I was saying, the tool palettes, you're probably going to find, if you go to the A and Z content, it's not there. We just got a few tabs, not much else, and a lot of these things aren't actually functional yet. So for the moment, you're going to have to go to the civil metric sub-assemblies. You'd be using those. If you're doing that, remember, don't use the basic ones, please. Probably best to remove that tab completely. These are only supposed to be used for roughing out the design. And if you start using these, you go further down the track, you start to want to get volumes and things out, you can't. And widening them and all sorts of stuff, it just doesn't happen. So I'd get rid of those basic ones, okay? So be careful with that. However, let's just go and throw in a standard assembly. Primary road full section will do. Pop it in there. And we can close that one. Okay. The ANZ, hopefully the ANZ country kit will be being re-released. And I'm just going to make a corridor along one of these alignments. Let's go along that alignment, that profile, that assembly, and that target surface. Corridor's done. Okay, let's say we wanted to widen this. Normally you would draw a polyline, you can widen it out to that. You can now use xrefs, which is the extra little piece. So if you have an xref in the background, you can widen to an xref. Let me show you how that works. I'm going to make a polyline here. Arc direction will be that direction, so let's arc it out. Arc it around. Arc it around again. Curve it out to something roughly tangential. Somewhere about there. Okay, on polyline. Start a new drawing. And I'm going to cut that from there. Go to my new drawing and paste to original coordinates. There it is down there. Do a save of this drawing and call it xref. Okay, and close it. So that's gone out of there now. That polyline's been transferred, cut out of there. So we can then xref in that other drawing, whatever other drawing we happen to have. Could be a drawing of property boundaries or something like that. Bring in the drawing on the desktop called xref. Oops, didn't go on the desktop. Let's go into documents. xref, there it is. And we don't want to scale, rotation or insertion point. It's an attachment, and we go OK. Now there it is. When you select it, it's an xref, as you can see by the ribbon, and it's slightly greyed out. So now we can go into our corridor targets. So select the corridor, edit targets for that region, and we can say the width on the left-hand side. It's going to find a polyline, select from drawing, and even though that polyline is an xref, it can be used. As you can see, it's just selected. You can see it's an xref polyline by the name it gives it. We go OK and OK, and the corridor will widen out to that xref now. Okay, so that's quite nice. If that was a 3D polyline, presumably you'd be able to do the elevations as well. Okay, lastly, let's have a look at the corridor solids. So again, in the toolbox, this one's not under the subscription extension manager, it's under the miscellaneous utilities. This one here called corridor solids, and extract corridor solids. So this was a labs tool. It was a labs tool. It was actually, no, it actually was part of the subscription downloads add-ons that you get last year. That's been brought into here directly now, so we can right click on that and go execute. There's our corridor. We're going to bring in all baseline regions. We'll grab everything that's in that corridor. Perhaps, or we can change colours of various parts. So for instance, the pave 1 colour, we can change that to whatever colour we want it to be. These ones you may not want. It's just links. Or the side slopes, which can be flat planes, so you can remove that out of there. Let's get the pave one as being brown in here as well. And probably those daylights we won't be solids anyway, so we can remove those too. So you can go through and play with all of those. Go next. You can make corridor solids, or based on the corridor sampling, or you can make them as swept solids if you want, which will smooth them out. So let's try the swept solids option, and insert into the current drawing or into a new drawing. Let's just put them in the current drawing for now, and go create solids. Now the reason for doing this is you can take them straight out to Navisworks and use them as solids. You can also just directly get a volume out of them, presumably using the mass prop function, which would potentially make things a little quicker if you just want a straight volume of the whole thing. You can just get the volume of that particular solid. Now let's see if I can select them here. Solid there, there. Should be one in here, or a couple in there. Select similar. Right, let's have a look in the object viewer and see what we've got. There we go. So let's grab them out as AutoCAD solids of the shape of the corridor. It's also curved them and smoothed them out around the corners, rather than being tangents like the corridor actually is. So yeah, the idea of this is really to be able to take it through to Navisworks and do clash detections and use it as part of your Navisworks model for timelining and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's what that's about, and that's roughly taking us to the end of what the new bits and pieces that I've come across so far in Civil3D anyway. There might, well, no doubt there's a few other little bits and pieces, but those are the major bits. Let me just have one more try. It's probably going to kill it, but let's give it a go. Of this rail turnout. Create rail turnout. Execute. See if it's going to go. No, something, don't know what's happened there. It's working fine this morning. But let's go and have a look at some of the other components of now the infrastructure design suite. There's a thing called Autodesk Recap, and I think this is probably the one most people are going to use the most. Recap stands for reality capture. Basically, it's talking about, you can go away, if you've never seen one of those, that's what one of those looks like. We can start playing around with point clouds. That's what it's really about. In the civil sense, it's usually going to be LiDAR data. So I've got a bit of LiDAR data in here. So let's go and bring some in. So this is a little package, part of the infrastructure design suite itself. The premium version and the ultimate, obviously, but it's in the premium. Actually, I think it's in all versions. So let me go and bring in some files. I've got a couple of, no, not in there, let's go to that folder. A couple of laser scans of some terrain. So let's go open. LAS files. And you can bring in as many as you want. So often the laser scan files or the LiDAR files are in little blocks. And this will be able to combine them together and be able to work with them before you actually bring them into Civil3D. There's some noise filters in here. I think the data's good in here, so I'm going to put no noise filters at all, but you can get it to filter out the data. Hopefully that would have been done by the people that gave you the files in the first place, that did the LiDAR for you. But if not, it can be done in here and you can clip it, etc. But let's just go start. Import two LAS files. And I think there's about a million, so it's really cool from those LAS files. Hit Launch Project. And it might be difficult for you guys to see just initially there, but let's see if I can change the way we are working here. We can change it to an elevation view. There we go. And if I go to the 3D orbit view, give it a rotate. Hopefully you'll be able to see. Here's our LiDAR data and come in very, very quickly. Now, the best thing about this is then you can say, okay, well look, I don't need all of that in my Civil3D. I can chop a bit out. So this is how we do it. Let's go to the top-down view, make a window, around a fence or a window or whatever you like. But let's say one of these files is actually over here and one on the left and one on the right. Now I think you can actually get it to highlight that. Scan location. Yeah, there you go. Highlight one on the left, one on the right. But let's go and change it back to the elevation so we can see it. We've got some other options for the intensity or RGB if you have an RGB scale in the file. In this case, it's just elevation. So let's go and select the window and say that the area I'm interested in is actually just a piece out of the middle here. Actually, let's change that. Let's go for a piece out of the middle like that across all two files, but I'm not interested in the rest. No, I'm bringing in too much information if I bring it all in. So you can go clip outside or clip inside. So I think it's clip inside we want here. No, we don't. We want clip outside and clip all. There we go. And clip outside. So it gets rid of all the other material on the outside, all the other points, and then we can just simply go and do a save as. Save it to an RCP or recap file, or we can actually go and do an export up in here and save it to a points file, PTS. Civil3D can read the PTS file in. Or in actual fact, if you make it from PCG, I think AutoCAD can read that in without doing anything else to it. It doesn't have to process it. So that's an option as well. PTS is just a points file, and then you can process that in a normal way in Civil3D if any of the other ways don't work. But I have tried them both ways and it's been fine. So that's actually really, really useful in that it's dedicated to working with points files, with point clouds. So it's very, very fast to use. It lets you just concentrate on the bit that you want to work with in your project. You don't need to bring in extraneous millions and millions of points. You can combine multiple files together and then just pick the bit you want out of it. So that's, I think, going to be really useful for people. So that's recap, reality capture. There is another component that it hasn't been released yet, I think, which is going to be released later on in the year, which if any of you used 123D Catch, the little program that was on the Autodesk Labs for making photographs from, making 3D objects from photographs, that's going to be released as a component of recap, I understand. Something under the recap banner anyway, later on in the year. So, how are we for time? Okay. Let's have a quick look at infrastructure modeler, perhaps. Got about 10 minutes to go. Let's go and have a look at that. So, there is a few changes in there. Not a great deal, but a few. So let me just close down recap here. Save changes. And I think I should have it open in the background here somewhere. Here we go. So this model is neat. It's actually one that is available for you to just download. It's an example model that is actually San Francisco, I believe. What you can see in the background there probably is. And this is what they've done to the new version. So, you know, they've made the water much more sparklier and nicer. Don't know how well you can see that moving across in the web link here, but let's go and have a play with this. The actual model works much faster. Now, I don't know how many of you might have seen the webcast I did last year on how to set up Infrastructure Modeler. Well, this is Infrastructure Modeler. They just renamed it as what do they call it these days? InfraWorks is what they call it. We got the clouds. If you look very carefully, the clouds are blowing across the sky with a wind from a certain direction and things like that. Nice thing about it is the shadows are constant. There's always the shadows in the model, so you don't have to go and do those. But it works really fast compared to what it was before. So it's going to be hard to see it really fast on this webcast. For some people it depends on the internet connection, but things are going really quick. These are probably, I would guess, SketchUp models, but as we go further back out in the city here, these other houses are from footprints from GIS data, from shapefiles, etc., with different coloured roofs applied to them basically, but it actually makes for quite a reasonable representation of a town very quickly, and that's what it's about. So what it's actually talking about, if you haven't seen it before, what it's for is for winning work through communicating design concepts before any real design has been done. So basically this whole town is built from GIS data plus a few 3D models, and you can start playing around with it. So there's an area out here I want to sketch in a bit of extra stuff in here. So if you've seen the webcast I did last year, we could build little roads in here, connect them up to other roads, and they just connect up straight away. You can move them around the place and get something looking really quickly like what the design intent might be. So you can see it's a new little subdivision area in here that they're putting in. There is a new little capacity that they've put in, so I'm going to move somewhere near the top of the hill up here. Here we go, that'll do. You can now actually bring your, oops, sorry, I'm just getting used to that. There we go. Different buttons for moving around on this thing. You can bring in those point clouds now. So if you've got a point cloud, and actually I have got one here, so let me go data sources, connect to data, got a point cloud. You can bring those in instead of constructing models. So if you've got a LiDAR point cloud that has picked up all the buildings and things like that, and particularly if it's got an RGB scale, a red, green, blue scale associated with it, all the colours will come through. So I've got one of those in here. Let me go to desktop. I think it's in the LAS folder. Sample 4. Again, I took this into Recap and played around with it and saved it out as a correct file format. Checked it out and then saved it out as a correct file format before putting it in here. So we're just adding that data source. This whole model, by the way, is 350 meg, so it's quite impressive what it's able to move around this model very quickly. And it's actually not that big in terms of a file size, I suppose, for something like this, which is pretty cool. But here's our point cloud. We've got to configure it. We can, it's actually the wrong scale because it's in feet, so I'm going to shrink it by a third in all directions before I bring it in, and go interactive placing, and I'm going to place it up on top of this hill. And this is a little mausoleum actually, so it's probably appropriate to be up on top of the hill and plot a bit like that. But, well, I think that's what it is anyway. So let's go close and refresh. It'll refresh the model for us. And in a second we'll be able to see it. There is also the ability up in the toolbar at the top here, just while this is regenerating itself, to now create pipelines and pipe connectors. Previously you had to bring those through a shapefile or something similar. You can actually, it looks like you can draft your own ones now. Okay, so here's our little point cloud. Let me zoom in on that. And it looks like, the screens catch up because there's quite a lot of graphics here at the moment. It looks like a solid object. We can rotate around it. But if you actually, whoops, that one. If you actually go right up close to it, you'll see it dissolves into the millions of points that it's made of. But if you back up a bit, it actually looks like a solid building. So that's actually quite cool. It's not actually slowing things down terribly much when I'm looking at it. I'm still panning around and moving reasonably easily. And of course it doesn't display all the points when you move away from it, so you can still move around the model very quickly and fluidly, which is nice. In the standard version, you're also going to get a couple of extra things where when you go and present it as a storyboard. This one pre-made storyboard in here. As I say, you can download this from, it's actually Autodesk 360 is where it comes from. You can download it onto your own machine and have a play with it yourself, this model. I will be doing a webcast on this, I believe, in a few weeks' time, so another one to show you for people that missed out on the one last year. So we'll go through how to construct an actual model in here during that. But let's there's a pre-made video or playthrough here, but you can see it's put these little bits of text and things you can write on the run-through on the storyboard now. So this may be going slightly too fast for your screens perhaps, but it's running through a preview and we're getting things like this battery tunnel written up the top of the screen and things like that as it goes through. So that's what these this is all about, having the ability to put in text like that Presidio Parkway midpoint panorama, for instance, at the bottom of the screen there. You couldn't put those in before, so it's something a little bit new. Let me remove that again to get my whole screen back. And let's go into the top view. We've just got a couple more minutes. I'll just show you the last thing in here, which is for those who do have the Ultimate design suite. Let's come up into the top area up here. And what am I looking for? Just going to draft in a little bit of a road up here. Here we go. We'll put it in there. So there is a change made to the roads if you've got the Ultimate version of this of the suite, and it allows you to do this. So just bear in mind what it is. We've shown a lot of times this particular functionality. It's only in the Ultimate suite that you get it. So you can draft in roads normally, but this allows you to do a little more in that you can, let's design a collector road, shall we say, and I'm going to attach it to there, and this is all normal, what you would do in the previous version of the software. But you can see as I draft it in, I'm starting to get curves and tangents being placed in. So this little orange curve appearing down the bottom of the screen, there's another curve in here. So pan up here. And I might see if I can join into one of these other roads, say, in there. So it didn't give you the ability to go and have a look at those curves and potentially change them as well. So that's new. So I'm going to click into there and right click. You've got curve options in here. You can change the curve radius it's laying out and spiral length and things like that in the right click menu, which was never there before. And you can also in draw in the right click menu there, and it will put that in for us. Now we'll do a bit of a rough run through at what it thinks should be the correct levels for that, and put our roadway. So if I go and have a look at that, it's actually cut in through the middle of a mountain here, which I told it to run through. So we might want to change the levels running through there. You can see it's constructed in 3D. It's gone and put it in as a 3D model. If we zoom in on it, you haven't seen this before, but it's taken a first guess at what it thinks the level should be. It's probably working to maximum and minimum grades, I suspect, in the background there. So what we can do is actually pick that and right click, if we actually go up to one of these corners, I think we'll find. There's my grip gone. There's some grips there a minute ago. Oh, there's one. Okay, let's have a look at these vertical curve grips. I'll hover over that grip and go show in profile. We now get a profile view of the road down the bottom here. So we can put in a new PVI and change it. change the elevation of the road. If I pop that up in there, because we're going to get a lot less cut, we're going to have a great big slot over there for or we can put in some more PVIs, etc. So now we can play around with this quite a lot. We can also export the whole thing to Civil3D, and it will take the alignment of that road, and it will also take the vertical geometry as a profile through to Civil3D. So that is really the extra bit. So it means that you can start putting together a little bit of design thought into working with it in Infrastructure Modeler, or InfraWorks as I now call it, and then export it out to Civil3D. The way it gets exported out is you do an export to an IMX format, IMX file, and that is going to take it out to Civil3D. So let me just do that quickly. So export to IMX format. I realise I'm about 5 minutes over time. I'll just finish this off for a couple more minutes, and then we should be ready to wrap up. So let's do a polygon for how much you want to export out. So I'm going to go from there to there to there. That's a polygon, and I'm going to put the desktop and export it. Shouldn't take too long. I haven't restarted Civils. Let's see if we can actually take it through to 2013. No, let's not do that. Let's restart Civil. I wonder if Civil was having, just wondering about the crashing that I was having before, where it hadn't crashed before. I wonder if it's because I've got Infrastructure Model running in the background that's using perhaps a lot more memory than what it normally would with a file of that size in there. Perhaps. I'll just close it down and see if that makes any difference. The other thing that is in the ultimate suite of the ultimate version of the suite is a river analysis package. That's actually in Civil3D. This, for the last couple of years, has been on the Autodesk Labs. It is a HEC-RAS analysis that it does, a steady state HEC-RAS analysis for river floodplains if you ever need that. It basically sets up the HEC-RAS model from a Civil3D surface, so you just cut your cross-section through a Civil3D surface and then can process that. You can also export to any of the HEC-RAS formats that you can then take into a full analysis. If you don't want just a steady state model, you can export it to the full HEC-RAS program. And this is it here up in the river tab, up in the ribbon here, to do a flood mapping of a river using HEC-RAS. Some people will use that, probably most won't, but that's again only in the Ultimate Suite. Let's go and insert an IMX file. I'm just exported from InfraWorks on the desktop. Here it is. And I'll just show you what you actually get through. So you get a couple of surfaces, or a few surfaces in here: existing ground, a transport surface, and a proposed ground. These are all alignments. So if I go and pick that alignment, you can see it's an alignment with my tangents and my tangents, curves, and spirals. are all in there in the location that it came from. And also, if I pick that alignment again, we can make a surface profile out of it, put in the existing ground. It's already got the profile from 5 times saturation should be right. I'll just grab all the defaults and just pop it in here. The profile from Infrastructure Modeler has come through as well, so it gives you a starting point for civil from what's been discussed already during the investigation stage, if you like, of setting up the design concept. So that's that component. And as I say, you're not actually going to get that if you're just on the premium version of the suite. Just to emphasize that once again, there are some components like this that are only available in the Ultimate Suite. Alright, well I think that takes us basically to the end of what I wanted to talk about. Let's just see if there's any questions perhaps. Can I load photos into InfraWorks? Yet that model that we were looking at before had a, well, the ground surface there was a aerial photograph. So that's there. Let me just expand this out a bit more. And there's a bunch of other things you can do as well. If you've got a bring in SketchUp models. This is the best way to bring in models if you're used to using SketchUp, to be able to play around with that and make your own models. Just trying to stretch this out, but it doesn't want to stretch out, but okay. Loading photos. Oh, somebody was asking, can you clip the aerial images as well? I presume that's meaning the aerial photographs in recap. I don't think so. I think it's only point cloud stuff that it's dealing with. You just need to clip a photo in the normal way. You can use a photo editor to do that. Where else? Okay, I think that's most of the questions that haven't been answered already. Does the rail module lay out overhead lines? Presumably you're meaning overhead railway lines. It's only laying out alignments, so you can do whatever you like with the elevation in terms of the profile that the rail has. So if it goes up in the air, it goes up in the air, and that's fine. But the actual rail components, if you like, of Civil3D only deal with alignments. Okay, I think that's most of the questions answered. So that's good. Let me just stop the recording at this point.